Welcome to the College Football Bros. I am Trey Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Michael Newman.
So on today's episode, Ryan is going to lead us through the SEC quarterback rankings. Ryan, what was your kind of overall sentiment on the group of quarterbacks?
Well, when it's kind of weird with the SEC just because of like you think of when you think SEC QBs, you immediately just think, okay, Georgia and Alabama, at least at this point, and those seem relatively weak compared to what you're used to for those quarterbacks, right? For that rooms, but overall, I think that actually SEC is relatively strong when you look at other, at the other teams. So, let's get going here though. We'll start from the bottom, and there's actually a quarterback that has some proven experience at another Power 5 school. We got Graham Mertz.
Talk him up.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to be positive here for Florida. Graham Mertz at Florida. Now, it's not a guarantee that he's going to be the guy. You got Jack Miller also in the running. Seems like it's definitely between those two fellows. But I'm going to say Graham Mertz wins the job. And yeah, he played at a Power 5 school, and that's about all positive I can say. He was pretty rough as Wisconsin's quarterback, under 60% completions, not exactly the greatest touchdown to interception ratio. And he had a good running back behind him too, which is unfortunate that he couldn't do better. So, man, I know I said this before, but that first game, man, when he was the starter, Friday night, I believe it was, against Illinois, he was almost perfect in that game. And you're like, uh-oh, we got Russell Wilson, Wisconsin type kind of coming back here. And it was downhill ever since then.
We'll see if a change of scenery helps him out.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, number 13. I got Missouri's quarterback, Brady Cook. He's in a battle technically with Jake Garcia, Miami transfer, but Cook was the starter last year and seems like he has the edge. But I actually would kind of be surprised if we didn't see Garcia at least at some point this year and get a chance. But Cook had a decent year last year. 65% completion percentage, 7.2 yards per attempt. Not great, but I've seen worse. 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So, he did some good things. They led him to a bowl game. So there's definitely reasons to think that Cook could improve a little bit off of those numbers. And if you're Missouri, you're like, okay, we at least know we got a solid QB, but a top half quarterback in the SEC. No, we don't have that.
But already I feel like this is a pretty strong, 13. Yeah, it's got to be the best 13th of any conference.
Throw it to Luther Burden. Make him look good.
Exactly. All right, moving on to number 12. And
my goodness. Georgia fans, look away.
Carson Beck from Georgia. I know. I'm ready I'm ready to get roasted here by the Georgia fans. Carson Beck seems to have the edge right now. Brock Vandagriff is really the guy, I guess, probably challenging him the most. But I think Beck gets the job. He's got the most experience. And he's done a good job in his limited snaps that he's, been given. But he is going into his fourth year at Georgia. And even when Bennett was struggling earlier in his tenure, Beck just clearly wasn't ready to even be given a chance. So I'm a little reluctant to think that Beck's just going to tear the world on fire and he's just some elite quarterback. Now, I'm sure he'll put up good numbers. He's got a great team around him, some great weapons, good defense, good offensive line and whatnot. But, when you're talking about ranking quarterbacks, I think you just got to take situation into, consideration, right? So the guys in front of him on this list, I think if you put them in Carson Beck's situation at Georgia, I would feel more confident in them this coming year that they might perform better is all. So that could have good numbers. I mean, maybe better numbers than some of the guys in front of him, but in a vacuum,
he's definitely going to have better numbers. I mean, if he's
exactly.
The guy,
I know, but that doesn't mean he's better than,
I hear
say
you.
A couple of the guys in front of him. I'm trying to factor in situation when I'm making these lists. Like we'll get to, you haven't seen Vanderbilt's quarterback yet, but Vanderbilt's quarterback did pretty darn good for himself last year. And if he was Georgia's quarterback, kid's going to put up some darn good numbers.
Okay. I mean, that's the best point you can make here. Yeah. Is it's hard when they're in different situations to judge, but this will be, I'll get to the end of it. I'm sure Georgia fans are livid. I would have him much higher, Carson Beck. So I'll get to that at the end of the episode once you get through more of your rankings.
I'm interested to hear it.
Okay.
All right, moving on to number 11. We're going Alabama here. So,
Oh my God,
come on, tell
Man.
me you feel confident about this QB room here in Alabama. I certainly don't.
I know.
I'm going with Jalen Milroe. That's my pick. But I mean, who's your pick? Who's your guys' pick? Ty
I don't
Simpson
know.
to
Tyler
Buckner?
Buckner.
But that's what I mean. Like all three of us
I
might
don't
have
know.
different guys. It's tough.
It's
I'm not.
yeah, you
I'm
don't
not
feel good
confident in
about the
all of
room.
them.
No, yeah, you don't feel. I think Buckner, like Trey said, I think he actually has a better chance to start than maybe most people give him credit for. Just because I feel like they brought him in for a reason. Maybe they didn't feel great about their QB room to begin with. But even though I'm still going to
And
go with
Tommy
Milroe,
Rees.
right? Yeah, the Tommy Rees connection. But as the old saying goes, right? It's like if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Well, what does it mean if you have three quarterbacks that you got like zero or -1 quarterbacks? I don't know what that
There's
means.
another old saying is if you're Alabama and you think Tyler Buckner's got a chance to start, then
Yeah.
you might be a redneck. No, that's not. That's not the saying.
What?
I got that one all wrong.
Where did that come from?
Just I don't know.
I like it, but I don't know where it came from. Yeah, so guys, I don't know. 11th. So that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. You got Alabama and Georgia's quarterbacks, at least in my rankings, but like, I feel like I'm not an idiot totally, but
Oh,
you can
they're going to call you
justify-
much worse,
Yeah,
Ryan.
well, I'm sure they
No,
will.
I mean it's whoever does start for Alabama, I would project to end up better than this. But when you look at each of them individually right now, like if Tyler Buckner, if I was ranking Tyler Buckner on this list, yeah, this is where I'd have him tops. Like he was bad at Notre Dame. Like we didn't see
Exactly.
a ton of him, but he was bad.
And Milroe was horrible through the air.
I mean, through the
I know,
air,
limited
yes.
reps.
He ran extremely well, so that
he was
that,
great
you got to be
there.
able to throw
So
somewhat.
I would, on that alone, I would have him higher. And Ty Simpson, yeah, we haven't really seen, so we don't know. But he was a big recruit, so you just figure someone will be decent, but it's hard preseason. No, I mean I wouldn't.
I don't think they feel good about the QB room. I don't see a great quarterback right now. I just
Yeah.
don't. I mean,
Yeah.
they took a transfer quarterback.
This
They
one
need-
is less, I think, surprising than the Georgia one.
Agreed.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's get to number 10. I'm going with Vanderbilt. They're not dead last. AJ Swan. Stop looking at me, Swan. First year plan here last year for Swan. He had 10 touchdowns and just 2 picks in the games that he was in. So pretty good there. He had a good game against Ole Miss. Had another good game against Northern Illinois. Battled against Georgia for going up against a great defense. But I take situation into consideration. His team was horrible, and I think he did a pretty darn good job considering what he had around him. And we've saw Mike Wright for the last year and a half or so at Vanderbilt, and he did a pretty good job as their quarterback. He kind of sparked them for a little while. But AJ Swan took over and he did even better. And that's why Mike Wright transferred left and went to Mississippi State. So Swan beat him out. Swan, apparently they think he's the better quarterback there. So I don't know. I feel like he pretty decent, actually. I think he made their offense somewhat competitive. And when you're talking for Vanderbilt, that's an accomplishment in itself.
Okay. Yeah, it's so hard to compare situations, so I'm not gonna
put
argue too
AJ
much.
Swan on Bama. Is he the starter? I
don't know. I don't know.
He'd be in the running.
You're supposed to give a hot take opinion, Mike. I don't know, man. What are we even doing here? Why are we even talking about this?
I mean, I'm just being honest.
I know. Give a take though.
I would have had Milroe ahead of AJ Swan. How about that?
There's a take. All right, thank you. All right.
Oops, I skipped ahead, but that's okay.
Always do that. That's all right. Number 9. I'm going Peyton Thorne at Auburn. He had one really good year at Michigan State 2 years back. And then last year was okay. Disappointing year for Michigan State. But overall, he had completes over 60% of his passes. He has 49 touchdowns and 24 picks. So, that's a pretty good career as far as numbers there. So he certainly elevates their floor. And I definitely think that's why they took him. And I think he's going to start because he's going up against Robbie Ashford, who can't even complete half of his passes. So that's not very good. I do think you'll see Robbie Ashford because he's a great runner, but
He's athletic.
yeah, he's athletic. But Peyton Thorne's a quarterback, and he can throw the ball a bit. But I mean, I'm not super high on Peyton Thorne, but I do like Hugh Freeze. I think he gets a lot out of his quarterbacks, and I don't know. He's done some good things in his career, so I don't know. I mean, you got to give some credit to that, even though he's transferring away. But I don't know. I think he's a solid QB.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I agree with your spot here.
Yeah. All right. Number 8, we're going to the Ole Miss quarterback room. I am going to give the edge to Jackson Dart, even though you got Spencer Sanders, Walker Howard's in there. But I feel like it's really between Dart and Sanders. So it's a tough battle between those guys. And usually in this situation, I kind of go with, at least in the past, I've gone with the guys that are the incoming transfer, as I usually kind of feel like the coach is trying to bring them in for a reason. But in this particular situation, I don't feel like Sanders is going to end up being the guy. I think Dart will keep his job. We saw Sanders for 4 years at Oklahoma State, and if anything, he got slightly worse during his time as the quarterback. It was not good. So, and he turned the ball over too much. Doesn't have a big arm. Yeah, he's got some legs, but Dart probably has even better legs. So Dart wasn't amazing last year, but he was fine. He was pretty decent, and if you look at his numbers, not bad. But it was his first year as a starter. And he played like 5 or 6 games at USC and finished that year strong. But so this was his first real season starting, and I don't know. At least to me, it's like Dart has some more upside. Sanders is just, I don't know. I'm not high on him. I think he's limited. I like Dart more, so I'm going to say Dart ends up being the guy, and I think he's still going to put up pretty decent numbers. I think he'll prove off of what he did last year.
Yeah, I think with the year 2 of the Kiffin system, like you were kind of alluding to, and I would say though, I don't think Spencer Sanders is a bum though, and I think the quarterback room, honestly, if you kind of in aggregate, could be in the top few of the SEC, but obviously that's not how you.
Well,
it's
certainly improved. They got decent. Guy. They got good depth now. That's for sure.
But
I would put Sanders and Dart, like if they were both on this list, I'd have them right next to each other either way. So I personally don't see much separation between those two. But yeah, I think 8th. Well, let's see. Let's get to 7 before I say 8 is a good spot.
Fair enough. All right, number 7, we got Connor Weigman from Texas A&M. Well, situations, coaching. I think Jimbo made the right move here, hiring Bobby Petrino, bringing him to run the offense. I hope he really gives. I hope Jimbo really gives Petrino the reins and just is like, you know what, it's all yours, man. Just like go do it, and you've proven yourself as an offensive coach for a long time, and you're good. Go do it. So I like Weigman though. I thought he did a good job given their struggles last year. He came in and it kind of sparked them a little bit. He had 8 touchdowns, no picks. Not the highest completion percentage, but at least he gave them some explosiveness. And A&M, like when you look at their team and look at their offense, they got pieces, man. Their offense really does. They got some good receivers, some super talented receivers. They got a good tight end. Their offensive line has experience. Running back room is talented. I truly think like they're just a good system / coach away from maybe not being like an elite offense, but being a top 20 type offense. And I'm high on them. I'm more bullish on A&M than I thought I would be. So I like Weigman. I think he's going to be good, and I think he's going to improve that offense a ton.
I agree with you
Petrino.
that I'm the same. I'm bullish on A&M, but if I was making this list, I think I might have personally had Dart ahead of Weigman just because I mentioned it. I like the factor that I think he has a little bit. I want to say he has a little bit higher floor because we've seen a full year of pretty good production of Lane Kiffin. But I will agree, Weigman probably has more upside, especially with the Petrino factor. But it to me, like Weigman is just it's boomer bust for the Aggies here, like in this situation. So that's where my hesitancy would come in. But again, I'm kind of splitting hairs, but that's the only reason I might have put Dart ahead.
Echo everything Trey said.
Oh, F you guys.
Except I probably would.
Well, it's like one spot. I'm just it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Still love you. All right, number 6 on the list, we got going Devin Leary, NC State transfer going to Kentucky. Kentucky did pretty well with their last transfer quarterback, and Will Levis. They took him from Penn State, and he did a good job. I think Leary's going to do a good job in Lexington as well. He had a really good year 2 years ago. He had 35 touchdowns, just 5 picks, 8 yards per attempt. So those were some fantastic numbers. Last year, he got hurt, only played about half the season, not quite even. And their offense just wasn't clicking. It just wasn't working out for whatever reason, I guess. But in Kentucky's offense now, I don't think he's going to be quite asked to do quite as much. And, Liam Cohen's coming back as the offensive coordinator, should kind of help him out. So I don't know. I think he's closer to more of what he did a couple years back than last year. And, what we saw from Levis has me a little encouraged. I know he wasn't amazing at Kentucky, but he put up some solid numbers and obviously was a highly thought of. So I think Leary's got more than maybe some people are giving him credit for at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I like that Liam Cohen's coming back. I worry about the supporting cast around.
Yeah, I know, me too. Yeah,
Leary, but to your point, like that's not what you're not.
I'm trying not to
let
let that.
You're grading the quarterback. So even if his numbers don't end up, better than Jackson Dart, you think he might be the better quarterback, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. All right, top 5. If you're a top 5 quarterback in the SEC, you should be pretty good. He was there for a sec. Now he's back. All right. Spencer Rattler, South Carolina. If the way he finished last year is any indication of how he'll play this coming year, I probably have him too low because he was awesome to finish the last year. He threw 10 touchdowns, averaged about 350 yards in those final 3 games.
Is Marcus Satterfield that bad?
I know.
Was he holding back?
That is So Marcus Satterfield was the offensive coordinator, and they were struggling for about 9-10 games through the year, and then seemingly it's not made public or talked about much, but seemingly he was kind of like they took everything away from him and just said, you know what, Satterfield, we're done with you, and let some other folks call the offense, and then it just got good. But I think that might be slightly exaggerated, but it happened. So we'll just go with it. So anyways, he finished last year great. He does have a new offensive coordinator this year, so maybe he does a little better. But I don't know. I do think that he has potential. I do think South Carolina's got good momentum. I do like their team coming into this year. I think Spencer Rattler's pretty good. He's got experience. So I don't know. I'm buying.
That is so hard, just because you had 10 games of just very average, and then all of a sudden,
not even
Tennessee, Clemson, Notre Dame.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like Trey said, I mean, it's because if he plays like he did the first 9 games, then he should be 10th on this.
He had more touchdowns in his last 3 games than his first 10.
It was just insane. But you got to factor in those games. They happened. And he played great.
Good teams. So. Notre Dame, Clemson, and
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah.
I know. It's he's tough.
It's tough. And even at OU, it's when he was OU, it's he put up pretty good numbers, but he wasn't putting up close to Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield numbers.
Right. You got to, So I don't know, man. I don't know what I would have done with him. I'm glad I didn't have to rank this list.
I know. I think he'll have a pretty good year though.
Okay.
All right. Number 4. I'm going Joe Milton, Tennessee, former Michigan quarterback, and he was tough for me. Obviously, he's looked really good in a Tennessee uniform, especially last year, and the opportunities that he's got. I think he's going to have a good year, but I mean, just the hesitation for Milton is we haven't seen it from him for a full season. We've seen guys look good in a game or two as, backup starters or whatever, take over for a guy who's injured and just all of a sudden come in and, oh, this guy looks great. But, DJU comes to mind when I say something like that. But when you're fully given the reins, it's a totally different story. And I'm not saying Milton's not going to be good. Maybe he will be amazing. And I have him at 4th in this. So that's obviously a high ranking, but to think I should have him higher to me is just how, why, they have 3 guys in front of him that have done it for multiple years, and have been proven good quarterbacks. Sure, Milton could jump in front of them, but he also could slide down. Like maybe he's just isn't as great
Nico,
as he's
Nico
looked.
could take over 6
Yeah,
games in.
who knows? So like I have to hedge at least a little bit on the fact that there's a lot more unknown with him than there are on the 3 guys in front of him. So I think my prediction, he's going to do well. And he's
with Heupel
with Heupel in the system, and he has looked really good, especially the finish last year in the bowl game. He looked good and stuff, but there's more unknown, so I can't put him higher.
Yeah, like will he be as efficient as Hooker? Probably not.
Exactly.
His bugaboo too. He's got the greatest arm in the world, but is he going to overthrow everyone? Going to be more?
Can he?
And they lose like Jalen Hyatt. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think it'll be good though. Of course,
I think it's the right spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Top 3. Moving on. Mississippi State's quarterback Will Rogers. Will Rogers Downs, right? Or what is it, Trey? Will Rogers Downs, isn't it? No.
That's a good.
Is that like in
question.
Oklahoma or where is
right?
that?
I feel like it's a race. Look it up.
Horse track. I'll look it up.
Racetrack. Yeah. There was like a Will Rogers Mile, I believe, too, right? There's like a race.
It's the Cherokee Casino Will Rogers Downs in Rogers County, Oklahoma.
Booyah, baby. All right, we got that together. Good job. Shout out if you've been there. Let us know. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, man. Let us know in the comments. To me, I think he gets overlooked kind of nationally when you're talking about quarterbacks. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he's played for Mike Leach, and maybe he's a product of that sort of system. And we've seen some quarterbacks put up good numbers there, but he's had some really, really good years. And we're talking SEC here. He's doing this against. So 71 touchdowns the last couple years, nearly 9,000 yards, over 70% on his completion percentage. So it just very, very effective, leading them to a couple of good seasons as well. So if he stays healthy, he's still got 2 years left. And if he stays healthy for those final 2 years, and if he stays, with Mississippi State for those final 2 years, I mean, he's going to end up with like every SEC QB record there is. 4 years, and he's just been put up massive numbers. He's going to own them all. And then nationally, he's going to even compete for some of those all-time records as well, just because he's done so well. So, because he even had a little bit of, the first year with COVID type stuff, but I don't know. I think when you're talking, maybe in a couple of years when that happens, he's going to have all those records. Like, how can you not have him at least in your top 3?
Yeah. I mean, your hesitation though is, the transition to Will Arnett and see how that is. It Will Arnett? Is that the actor?
You said the actor, Zach Arnett.
Zach Arnett. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just that transition and how it'll go. But if he keeps things rolling, then I agree.
Yeah. Yep. I'd expect good things. All right. Number 2, I got Jaden Daniels from LSU. So for him, even people that were high on Daniels, like I was pretty high on him before last year, and I expected him to win the starting job. I did not expect him, and other people did not expect him to have the season that he did. He was just shattered expectations. I thought he carried that offense, just made it effective, especially early in the year when they were still trying to figure out what they were on offense. He just found a way to move the ball, whether it's running, scrambling, and making a throw. He was awesome. 17 touchdowns, passes to just 3 picks, nearly 3,000 yards through the air. Plus, his running was incredible. He had almost 900 yards on the ground and another 11 touchdowns. So they didn't quite expect that either. So it was a tough choice, honestly, for me not to have him at number 1. It was neck and neck for these two. You could say Daniels is number 1, and I wouldn't have any problem with it.
But who is number 1?
Number 1, I'm going Arkansas. Good for you, Arkansas. You got, in my opinion, the best returning quarterback in the SEC, KJ Jefferson. 45 touchdown passes to just 9 picks in the last 2 years. Those are some great, great numbers there. The last 2 years, he's had about 2,600 passing yards, right around 68% completion percentage both years, and 9 yards per attempt almost, like right around there. That's some darn good passing numbers. And if it's just that's all you do. But as you know, KJ Jefferson also can run really well. He has right around 650 yards each of the last 2 years. So he's been phenomenal. And after 2021, his first kind of breakout year, a lot of people, including myself, kind of doubted if he could repeat those numbers, especially considering, he lost Traylon Burks after that 2021 year, the great wide receiver, and he counted for most of their receiving yards. Everybody's like, well, without Traylon Burks, maybe they won't be as successful. His numbers were pretty much essentially the same. Like, you look at them, they're eerily similar the last couple of years. So he just repeated exactly what he did, no matter who was out there. They added some transfers and stuff, but he was great. So, he's tough as nails. He's a physical runner, good passer. If I was, if I drafted number one in SEC quarterbacks, I'd want KJ Jefferson. I know I got a good quarterback, man.
Yeah, I think I agree there. I think it's close between those two. I don't think you can go wrong, but I probably would have put Jefferson number one as well.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Trey. We've got the full list of 14. If you're watching on YouTube, any thoughts here?
So, top to bottom, it's fine. Like, it is good, but like, I don't know. To me, I think it's a clear top two. And then after that, you've got a lot of guys with potential, but I would take maybe some of the other conferences, maybe a couple of the other conferences that we've looked at over these guys. But the top two are like ridiculously good.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan has been kind of stumping for the SEC.
I think the Pac-12's top four, like we were saying during the Pac-12 episode, I think the Pac-12's top four overall is better, but I think it's relatively close. Assuming you think Joe Milton's going to have a pretty darn good year, which I think most people do.
I think the Pac-12's top four is a good bit better, but the depth here in the SEC is much better than the Pac-12.
It is better.
Brady Cook is 13th, and he's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And you're going to get either a Bama or Georgia quarterback down there too.
Yeah, and then it's just tough. It's tough in that kind of even like 4 through whatever, like 12 range. There's like Spencer Rattler. Okay, there's reasons to think he could be great. There's reasons to think he might not be. Devin Leary, he's had a great year. He's had a bad year. Down the list, like Peyton Thorne, good year, bad year. So it's tough to nail those guys down.
Especially because those guys in that 4 through, like you just mentioned, that range, there's a lot of guys that they're either transferring in or they have new offensive coordinators or new. There's some new factors that you can't. It's tough to grade.
Yes. Okay, but Ryan, Georgia fans, I have probably been waiting for this argument for Carson Beck. So I think I would have Carson Beck. I don't know. Like I think like for me, I would have had him 7th or better probably. I might have gone bold and had him 5th or 6th. So just because, my default position is for the elite programs like Georgia, Alabama, I just assume whoever the next guy is, because they recruit so well, is going to be really good. Like even Stetson Bennett, he wasn't highly recruited, but he was really, really good. So Georgia has recruited well. They've got Vandegrift in there. They've got Carson Beck, who was a 4-star himself. He's been with the program for a while, so he's got that experience. And I like when you see a little bit of him and it's really good. That gives me, like last year, right? He didn't throw a ton of passes, but enough to where it's like, all right, he definitely showed
he's
some
competent
potential there. Yes, exactly. And then the key thing here is like the reason I say, I assume the elite programs are just going to have really good quarterback play. Well, unless something tells me they won't. And with Alabama, that is clearly after spring practice, they didn't have confidence in their quarterback room. They brought in Tyler Buckner. They desperately tried to get Tyler Van Dyke. Like they showed their cards that they don't feel great about the quarterback room. I think Georgia hasn't done that. Like Georgia, as far as I know, did not at all try to get any transfer. And of course, they're Georgia. They could bring in somebody really good, but they seem like they've been confident. Like Carson Beck, I mean, I know he hasn't been named the starter, but he seems to be a pretty big favorite. Like they seem pretty confident that he's good. And so, I would have had more confidence in him than you, even though
that's fair.
He hasn't played much.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Looking back, maybe I might have slid them ahead of Alabama, but with Alabama, I do think that at least Jalen Milroe does have a nice dual threat ability, which gives me a little more confidence there. But Beck did look solid in his limited time, but God, they just had such a good team around him at Maybe I went. It's possible I went too much into the situation thing, where, try to factor that in. But
punished him too.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, because he's Georgia, But I do think that, like, guys like, AJ Swan and Spencer Rally, you put them behind center from Georgia, I think they're going to be freaking great. Like, they're going to have really good numbers. Peyton Thorne, man, he had a really good year at Michigan State, like that a couple years back, and pretty good offense. But you put him behind Georgia's crew, who knows what he could do?
Yeah, you might be right. It's
I want to see this year. I'm interested. I mean, I'm sure Beck's going to put up good numbers, but
I'm just a little bit. I've got a Heisman ticket on him, and you're telling me he's the 12th best quarterback in the SEC. I feel like an idiot.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, one of us is going to look like an idiot, but
all right. I mean, at least I got pretty good odds on. It's not like I'm betting him 2-1, but okay.
Fair enough.
That's all right.
These rankings. I mean, it's all about situation. So I don't know. I love doing rankings just because I feel like so many different opinions. And you can make a case like you could put Carson Beck at 5, and I'm not going to get mad at you. I think it's a legit case that you could do that, or even higher. Like there's reasons to believe that, but I don't know. I just think the difference is opinion, and like that's fun to talk about.
Yeah, it is. Because even though I made the passionate case for putting them 6, 7, whatever, I can see your. Well, I can see your logic. I was gonna start arguing again, but I can see it.
You already did.
Okay. Anything else? Are we good? Okay.
Well done, Ryan.
Very good.
Yeah, that was the toughest, I think, list of rankings. So, good work overall, and thanks for checking out this episode of the College Football Bros. Next episode, we're gonna put all the conferences together. Going to add some G5 guys in there. Of course, I'm sure Grayson McCall will make an appearance because we'll be listing the top quarterbacks overall in the country. So be sure to subscribe and check out that episode, and we'll see you then.